I recently saw a show when Life Gives You Tangerines. It was suggested to me during this time when I was going through a lot of challenges in my personal life. I was facing problems that are frankly out of my hands, and there was only a limited numbers of things that I could have done to improve my situation. I started watching the show out of the desire to simply distract myself from my own problems and challenges for something more lighthearted. When I started watching the show, it dawned upon me that this is not just a distraction, but is actually art, a storytelling, a description of other human beings' struggles with life. The name of the show itself, When Life Gives You Tangerines, it's a play on the When Life Gives You Lemon saying in the West. It's a Korean show based in the island of Jeju, Korea. While I was expecting an hour episode of just simple distraction, what Korean drama often give, the show started off with these characters whose lives were rather miserable. They inhabit a world where there was not much going for them. The main character's mother, she was a poor woman whose first husband passed away. They had a little girl together, and that was the main character. The main character was complaining that she didn't get enough attention and time with her mother. She has to live with the relatives of her deceased father, while her mother was too poor and busy raising a second family. She was married to her second husband who lacks competence, and her life was that of a subservient mother taking care of two young children and her useless husband. Every day she would dive for clams so that her children could eat. And back in the day, these people were diving with bags of air, improper gear. They were freezing as soon as they got out of the water. But she did it anyways. Despite knowing that this activity of diving for clams is badly affecting her health, she still did it because of the want to provide for her children to sell so that her children would not go hungry. She did it until the day she died. When this poor mother was still alive, she made sure that her poor child from her first marriage would still have a good life, to the extent where she insists that she would stay with her deceased husband and family instead of staying with her because they have more means. But despite that, the little girl was still treated badly by her paternal family, who she lived with a grandmother and her second son and his family. They were a family of five, but they only buy four fish because they deemed that this girl didn't deserve the extra food. They were stingy and mistreating their own kin. This little girl's life was so miserable, where she clings to her mother because her mother was the one that loved her the most. She was the only one left. When the mother found out about the mistreatment of her daughter, she took her daughter back to stay with her, despite not having much. But at least she knew that her daughter was loved, even though she has to dive more. She had to struggle more to make money. She knew that if she tried hard and suffer more, her family, her kids would be well taken care of by her. And this mother was determined until she passed away, despite all her friends and the community around her forcing her to stop diving. She did it anyways because she had no way out, no way to provide for her kids. As the story shifts to the main character and her perspective, her mother just passed away. She has no one left. And now she has to take care of her two younger half siblings. Her stepfather decides to go off on a boat to make money. The misery in this little girl's life just goes on, but there was a spark of hope. There was a local village boy who always looked out for her. She had a love for poetry. She had a dream still. Together they struggled on. Her, her little siblings, her stepfather, and on the occasional visits, and this little village boy that had a heart of gold, always giving her fish and anything he has. They struggle on, and they made it to adulthood. Well, initially I just wanted something to distract and entertain myself, I found myself in front of a piece of storytelling and art that exemplify that exemplify humanity' ability to tell very compelling stories and share certain emotions of suffering and overcoming and hope and love. It found me when I needed the most, when I was going through my own struggles. Of course, in comparison, it's nowhere near the struggle that this little girl had to go through. Fiction or not, I I know that out there in the world, other people are suffering, but art has this ability to encourage through empathy the shared experience of life that we all have as human beings. The show, When Life Gives You Tangerine, within the first episode, just showed me the importance of art, not just in times of good, but especially in times of bad.